Hi, everyone. My name is Nils. We are talking about learning first. So if somebody went the wrong room, easy's on the other side. Okay. So SuccessFactors Learning. This is me. Well, very young me, likely better face, hopefully. Anyway, I've been working with learning and e-learning for the last, well, more than 25 years. Most of my professional life has been in multimedia and e-learning. SuccessFactors Learning is my deal as we speak now. So that's what I will talk about. As you can see, one of the menus is out. I don't have a deep dive today. I don't think the release have too many great features coming up this release, but I will say that next release will probably be a very large presentation because that's where the whole interface will change and hopefully everything will tie together. What we actually would have loved to demonstrate would have been the new intelligence hub into learning. And no problem, I'll close. But unfortunately, the test environment we could not get the intelligence hub to work the way we wanted to. So we could not really see and show how it goes into learning. So unfortunately, we only have a few slides. What will be noticeable from you, also for all the admins, is that what you have seen before called competencies are going to go away. It will be called attributes. And under attributes, it will become competencies and skills and so on. So the whole intelligence hub will go in under attributes in learning. When you see it from the user side, if you had competencies, you would be able to see it said competencies here. And now you can see it will become which competency and what skills and so on will come in there. I think this is nice. I really hope that soon will work so we actually can test it and begin seeing the integration between the whole self model and skills, competencies, and so on. What is changed a little bit is the standard course home. I hope all of you have tested it, has it enabled so you can begin seeing how it is. What has been improved is now that managers don't have to go into the manager setups and the whole drill down to do stuff. Now more and more options are coming available directly in the library when they see courses themselves. Approval comments has been added, associated attributes as we just talked about, and other features are coming. If you have not yet enabled Course Home or Course Home Blended, for those of you who are in the technical part, be aware that next release, so end of this year, they will force you to use it no matter what. They will simply deprecate the old way of looking in the library and looking at courses. So if you haven't tested it, I strongly recommend you do it here in the summer where you don't have too much work to do, of course. So you can just test and test and test and see what it looks like. The screenshots are not very good. They're taken from the screens from SAP, but you can see here you can register others. So a manager can actually not necessarily register themselves, but it actually directly can register other people directly there. Yay, I've been waiting for this since the last release because I think it's a bug. Any of you have experienced this with the programs? No. If you had a course, you took a course, when you completed it, you would get this pop-up screen saying, hey, you completed it, go back to your learning plan or see your certificate. That seems logic and everybody's happy. But if you had made a program that had, let's say, 10 different courses in, when you had completed one of those courses, ta-da, you would get the same screen. You would be forced back to your learning page instead of back to your program agenda. To be honest, I was pretty pissed, sorry, my French, last release. So I made a long list and actually then sent it directly to SAP because for me, this was a bug. And they said, no, that's the way it should work. We'll see if we can fix it because they actually they could see that it was a problem. And they kept saying, nah, we'll come in one of the patches, but at the latest in the next release. I know what that means. So here it is in this release. But now it's there. So when you test in your preview instances, if you do have a program, if you do take courses from a program items, you actually now have the options to go back to your program. So yay. What I think is really interesting seeing from a learning perspective is, for those of you who uses analytics and you do have report stories, so far there has not been any templates per default you could go and use. If you needed something, you either have to do it yourself or you would have to have a consultant help you set it up. They have now actually, in this release, put up 3 standard report stories that you can use, but they actually didn't release it because they were, of course, full with errors, so they're still pending a little bit. But for me, it's just soon, we don't know when, some real templates will be available for public download and everybody can use them in report stories. So halfway there in the report stories. Again, they are, of course, fairly standard ones, I assume. I haven't seen them. But it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. If you are using the general display name, then this release actually gives us the opportunity to begin using it within learning as well. It's not all over yet, but it's coming. So if you have it in curriculums and you create multiple classes, you can actually begin using it. Sorry, in the libraries and the quick guides and in different areas here, you can see that the display name, you get a tag you can begin using in learning. Until now, it has been something that was going on somewhere else. We didn't even map it in, so you could not really see it. You could search for it, but that's also it. So if you're using it, it's just great news. If you don't care. If you're using any of the virtual learning systems, so Teams, Zoom, WebEx, whatever, they're improving it every release now. And that's actually one of the places where they begin doing a lot of effort to do things. So if you use WebEx, they have changed it to a REST API. I don't actually have, to my knowledge, any customers where I have implemented it. So I guess you don't use it in your learning management system. Zoom actually used another app called JWT way of using it. They have changed it now to the OAuth authentication. So that should also be working now. And if you use Teams, which I would say most of our European customers do, can now begin receiving the learning assignment notifications and reminders in Microsoft Teams directly, not only in your mailbox. So it's getting more and more integrated with Teams. So Microsoft and SuccessFactors, their deal together is actually growing from each release, so we get more and more updates that way. If you do have people or languages like Arabic or Thai, you now have the option also in learning to begin using their calendar types. To be honest, I have never seen them, so I just know now you can also use them in learning. So I think it's a minority of the customers, at least I have touched base with, that are using it. But if it is, and if you're using it, now you actually also have the option to enable those calendars in learning as well. SuccessFactors, as you might have noticed, are trying to get their mobile app to become better and better and better, because they do see the future of, let's say, the younger people coming in. They want to do the stuff on the mobiles or on the tablet. They don't necessarily sit in front of a laptop, a computer or desktop computer, or whatever they use. So they're trying to do everything you can do, should also be able to do that in the mobile. This is actually one of the features I think is really cool, that if you do use task list-based training or task assessments or whatever you want to call it, you can actually now from the mobile begin using it. You can request your observers directly from the mobile going forward. That's actually all. So that's not a whole lot from learning, in my opinion. Of course, there is, if you look through the list, there is 33, 35 notes of updates. Several of them is actually in the course home update. So if you have that enabled, you will notice there's different small changes in there. But if we look at the roadmap, they have 4 listed for the end of the year. And you can see I have 3 interesting things, but that's because I see 3 of them really interesting ones. One of those that I did not mention is the external requests. So if you're using the external learning request form, in this release, you can actually, the users can attach attachments to the request. But in the next release, now the admins can also attach different. I don't know a lot of companies that are actually using it. Most are either doing it in a different way or using one of the extensions. But the other 3 ones, and I actually expanded them a little bit. The new learning homepage, as you have seen for the whole SuccessFactors suite, the homepage that came, I guess, two releases ago or something like that. They're going the same way. They want everything to be unified, so they should be looking the same. As all of us that knows learning, we know that learning really needs an overhaul in the user interface. So I've seen one screenshot. It's not even live, but I've seen one, and it's improvement. Let me just say it like that. Again, I have no idea of how well it's working when we get it, but it looks nicer to what we have now. Skills-based learning. So again, with the Intelligence Hub, it will be improve the connectivity and the working together from learning into the SAP Intelligence Hub. So again, I'm sorry we could not have it working because we really wanted to be able to showing. But I guess next release, not only will we probably couldn't demonstrate the new user interface, but also really much how we integrate with the Intelligence Hub, because I think those two will make a change for how we work with learning. And for those of you who works with e-learning, all other learning providers out there are learning management systems, supports XAPI. Now, finally, SuccessFactors Learning will do the same. So we have AICC, we have SCORM, and then XAPI will come. So for me, as a professional here, I think all of those 3 will be really interesting to see next release.
Thank you, Niels. That was really good. Hello, all. Are you ready for onboarding release update now? Yeah. So yes, my name is Harsha, and I've been doing SuccessFactors for the last 10 years. And most part of it has been recruiting and onboarding, because onboarding has been keeping busy for the last 4 years at least with this latest version of onboarding. Previously, it was called Onboarding 2.0, but now it is called as onboarding. And we call the old version as Onboarding 1.0. All of the release updates that I'm going to talk today are related to Onboarding 2.0 or the onboarding one, which is the latest version. Okay. So we will be talking about the most important and in general, all of the release updates, also talking about the roadmap at the end. So this is my favorite, so that's why I have it in the top of the list. This is Configurable New Hire for onboarding. Previously, this Configurable New Hire was available, but it was available only for Employee Central. We had a lot of customers asking, why is it not available in onboarding? What it actually does is, the UI screens for the new hires or the managers or the HRs when they are completing data review or when the new hire is completing personal data, we can actually move the blocks. We can have, let's say, emergency contact information moved below address information, for example. It also now supports MDF object, which was a major limitation before, because of which we had a separate step called as additional data collection. So there were 2-step processes where onboardee had to provide personal data in one step, and then they had to go back, click on the homepage, and collect the onboarding specific data. For example, equipment preference, or maybe uniform sizes if they have uniform at work, right? But now with this, I don't really see a need for additional data collection, which is a very big win. I'm so happy about this improvement. It also supports a custom MDF object. Again, a very big win. So it takes away a lot of limitations that we previously had in onboarding. So I would really like to talk with our existing customers to see how we can improve their current processes with this new enhancement that we have. How is it configured? So basically, we have to configure the hire template. There are 2 new hire templates. So as you can see here, there are some that are related to Employee Central, which was always there, but now onboarding, SAP has added 2 more for onboarding. One is for the new hire, and the other one is for the manager or HR. Okay. Then we have to create business rule, because we can have n number of templates, but we want to select the right template for the UI. When the onboardee is completing personal data, we want to select the right. So you can have country specific. That is not recommended, but I'm just saying that it's possible because the business rule will allow us to do that. And then once we have the business rule configured, it is set here in onboarding configuration in manage data. So this is more about configuration, but if you want to enhance your existing processes, please do talk to us. We can talk about this in more detail. Okay, configurable new hire, there are some rules still to be followed. For example, name information is required block. So you cannot say that when onboarding is completing the personal data, we just want to collect national ID information. That's it. That's not possible. You also have to show them the name information fields. So there are some restriction in place, which makes sense, absolutely. So we will also be looking into this when we are designing your hire template. This is just an example where you can see that gym membership, for example, or the vehicle details, which we usually put as part of additional data collection, the second step in onboarding, can now be clubbed together. So personal data, additional data can be combined together. So this is really a major enhancement, which I think a lot of existing customer and also new customers can benefit from. The next one is also a big one because previously we did not have any custom triggers for email notification. What it means is we were given some standard emails, and that is all we could use. If a customer had a requirement that email notification should be sent out to HR once the onboarding process is done, all the steps in onboarding are completed, and the hire onboarding is ready to be hired in managed pending hires, let's say. So that was one of the common ask by customers, and we tried a lot of workaround. Nothing was perfect, but this is going to address that issue, and we have already tested it in our previous systems, and it works well. So this was just an example that I gave. We can have custom email triggers for different steps in onboarding. So this is really a good one too. The other releases, the minor ones, I would say, are the ones, for example, this is a screenshot taken from the new hires view. When managers add all the key information, this is how it is presented to the new hire, so they can see who is the manager, who is the buddy, and who are the other recommended people, for example, dotted line manager or whatever. There can be a number of useful contacts. Previously, it was not clearly indicated what are the role of these different users here. But now the system clearly indicates that, okay, this is the manager and here is the buddy. And this was one of the things one of my customer really wanted. So manager is selecting a buddy, but the system does not really clearly indicate that this is your buddy. It's a limitation. And I'm really happy to see that it's addressed now. A lot of these enhancements are really added or taken from customer community. If you see any improvement ideas, please do go and create some community ideas, great ideas, because SAP do implement that. And we are seeing that it's coming at a faster rate now. This one is, again, I would have said it was a defect before, because in Employee Central, if you terminate an employee and the termination, let's say termination date was 31st of May, in onboarding, it used to say do 31st of May plus 1, so 1st of June. But that has been now fixed. It used to take the effective date or the date when the termination or the employment record is terminated or it becomes inactive, right? So it doesn't take that day that incorrect day anymore. It shows the right date. So this is a screenshot from Employee Central where you can see the termination date. And this is an existing one. This is an existing current system. So you can see that it is showing May 16th, while in Employee Central, it was May 15th. But this has been fixed by SAP now. The next one is related to offboarding. There were some cards missing on latest homepage, but now they are available. So previously, we had to click on this little icon here and access the to-do task, but it's no longer needed because all the offboarding related tasks are now available on latest homepage. Similarly, for US compliance, we have all the US country-specific compliance cards available, all the E-Verify, I-9. So they were also accessed the previous, as I showed in the previous slide, but no longer the case. It's really nice that SAP is enhancing the latest homepage. So these are some of the user experience improvements, UI improvements. So here there was a limitation before where the responsible group of users were restricted to only 20 users. So let's say if there is a group of users who could complete I-9 compliance for US, It could be up to 20 users in the group who could complete that task, but now the restriction is removed, and we can have 200 users, up to 200 users in the group, I think, which is really good. And this is again very specific to US compliance, because this restriction was there earlier only for the US compliance. Yes, so this is for existing customers who are having custom processes. You will have to do one-time activity in this release where you will have to access the process variant and click on activate, because that will release all the fixes that SAP has done during this release. Okay, so this is just one-time activity. For all the future releases, SAP will be doing it automatically, and you will not have to do it anymore manually. Let me know how I am doing with time, please. Okay. Configurable due date. So previously we could not set due date for all of this personal data collection, additional data collection, new hire data review, document signature, and onboarding rehire verification. It was always defaulted to new hire start date. But now it is possible to set a due date in onboarding configuration. Here you can see you can set a due date. It can, here in this example, it is 10 days before the start date. But that due date will apply for all of these steps. So which is good. You have a flexibility now to change the due date, because start date can be a little late, right? You cannot tell onboardees that, okay, complete your paperwork on the day of hire, because you might want national ID and other information before that. Especially if you're creating contract before they are hired in Employee Central. The next one is here. It's about label change, basically, for you to know whether it is the first rehire check or second rehire check. If you are using rehire process in onboarding today, you might be familiar with this first rehire check and second rehire check. So there is a label change. When you see pre-onboarding, it is the first rehire check. And onboarding rehire verification is the second rehire check. So I will not go into the detail of those two checks, because it's a bigger topic and we don't have time for that. Enhancements to new hire activities. This is a good one. So any changes made in employee record, that is not any, but start date and manager change. If the start date has changed or the manager has changed, and that change was updated in manage pending hires, which was later approved, the changes was approved, or if the changes were done in hire date correction, those changes will now move back to onboarding. So we always used to tell customer recruiting, onboarding, and then EC, no going back to onboarding, because this backwriting was not supported until today. But it's really good that now the EC changes that are approved will be updated in onboarding. But please take a note that these changes will only appear once the new hire is converted to employee. Okay, so managed pending hires must be completed, approved, and they should be converted to employee. Only then the changes will be reflected in onboarding dashboard, and all the other places. And there is this configuration requirement. So you have to go to onboarding settings to enable the switch. Custom card on latest homepage. So this is if you want your onboardees to complete their profile, it was only accessible from this little icon here, which is not easy for onboardees to find out. They have to navigate a little bit to find that. But now it is possible for you to create a custom card to guide them to complete their profile. That is to update their photo information, for example. And you have to use a link, this particular URL in the custom card configuration. So the next one is rehire. I think this is the last one, maybe. Rehire with new employment on legal entity transfer. So in some of the projects we have seen, customer really want to do termination and then rehire. It could be due to payroll reason that they want to terminate. This is for internal transfer. It could be within the country or cross country. Whenever there is a legal entity change, customer sometimes they request that we want to do rehire for future termination record, which wasn't possible until this release. So this is again an interesting one for customers who want to terminate their employees and then rehire on new employment. But for that, you have to keep in mind that there should be a future termination date in Employee Central. So there should be an termination record in Employee Central with future termination date. And the start date in recruiting should be after that termination date. And if these two conditions are met, then once you initiate onboarding from recruiting module, it will automatically initiate the rehire with new employment process. Okay, and also note that this is supported only when you use recruiting SuccessFactors recruiting module and not manual onboarding or a third-party recruiting system. Yeah, and this is a screenshot that shows your employee who is now being transferred to a new legal entity. They can access their new profile as well and start completing the paperwork that is needed for onboarding process. So there will be a way for them to access the new profile using that switch on the homepage. Oh yeah, this is the last one here. Dynamic determination of the applicable tasks. So this is the previous old screen. As you can see, even if some of the steps were not relevant to onboardees, it was still shown, and there was a message here, not available until other tasks are completed or not applicable. But now it is much smarter. The system in real time detects whether the steps are applicable. There are business rules that are run every time you complete a step, update information, right? This is also running in real time. And if the step should appear, then it will show the step. If the step is not applicable for the new hire, then it just smartly shows the relevant steps for the new hire. This is really a good one. Previously, we used to do a label change to just tell the new hires that this is not applicable. But now with this, it's much smarter and better experience. Yeah, that's all for this release. Regarding roadmap, I would like to spend a minute talking about some of the things that are coming up. For example, so, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. So yes, I'm sorry, I'll have to stop here because we don't have much time. Jakob, it's over to you.
That's interesting. Well, for the most important module, only 5 minutes. What the hell is going on? So this is me, still looking young and attractive. I need to spend 3 on this. No, yeah, so working mainly in recruiting management and marketing, also do a bit of onboarding in Employee Central. I try not to do it a lot because recruiting is my thing. So most important topics for this release, we have the forward as applicant on Evergreens. So if there is a child and parent relationship between an Evergreen and a normal requisition, the visibility check on the candidate isn't executed as it is today. So if a candidate has a very restrictive visibility option when they create their profile, they will it will not be possible to forward that candidate to another requisition. But if there is a parent-child relationship now, you can always forward a candidate to a child requisition from an Evergreen. Then we have an upgrade to the quick apply process. Earlier, the candidate had, if they had created a profile or applied for another job earlier, they would have to log into their profile when they applied for a new job in order to approve the latest data privacy statement. But today, when they go through the application process, they will just see a screen. Can we laser point? Whatever. They will just see a screen where they would have to accept it directly in the quick apply form instead of logging into their candidate profile, accepting the data privacy statement, and then go back to the application. Other release features, job applications available in WorkZone. I'm not sure how many of you use it, but it's just a small reminder that now it's possible to see or see your job applications when you log into WorkZone. Then we have, of course, some upgrades to the general display name. So now you can see the general display name on offer approvals when you approve offers for internal candidates. In recruiting posting on your posting profile and users, and when you associate profiles to posting profiles. Then when you restore deleted job requisitions, reassign them or mass delete job requisitions, and then in the candidate search portlets and when you delete the candidate. Some of my colleagues have talked about this opportunity marketplace as well, which is a new thing in SuccessFactors. We will also have recruiting related stuff in the opportunity marketplace. And here I'm specifically talking about internal job opportunities. So jobs that are posted internally. Then we have an update to the country pick list. Turkey got a new name. Congratulations to them. What you need to do, you need to go into the candidate profile, into pick list center and update it in the country pick list. And then you'll see the update in profile and application. And it's very important because it might lead to errors if the country pick list isn't up to date. The ones that are not underlined are handled by the system. So no work for you there. Then recruiting, there will also be a recruiting integration to the new Talent Intelligence Hub. And that is specifically regarding customers using Job Profile Builder. I'm looking at you, Alan, where you will be able to use skills, competencies, and other attributes in the Job Profile Builder. Then we have an additional upgrade to the pick lists in recruiting. So if the pick list isn't cascading, you'll be able to search for values in a pick list. So for example, in a country pick list, you don't have to scroll all the way down. You can just search for it. Then we have a new validation when you post your jobs. So if you have fields that are mapped to your career site in recruiting management, it will run a validation. So for example, if the location, if city, state, country, or postal code isn't mapped, is mapped, but you missed the field in job requisition, the posting will tell you that you need to provide a value. That is, of course, important when we post the jobs. New release features in recruiting marketing. If you're using Google Analytics, you have to upgrade it to Google Analytics 4 ID. You just provide the key in the same section as today with the Universal Analytics in Career Site Builder. And then SAP or SuccessFactors is removing the add this widget, which is the share this job on your career site. And that is because Oracle doesn't support it anymore. So it will not be available in either the career site or in Career Site Builder when you do changes there. Time? You lied to me. I've just been speeding through the most important module in SuccessFactors. Jesus Christ, Anna. You owe me one. Anyways, okay. Then I will speed down a bit. So, recruiting, posting, add comment, update. Not that slow, sorry. So when you add your job board packs, when you add job board packs to, for example, job index in recruiting posting, you can now add a comment specifying stuff like contract information or other helpful information for people who post jobs. Then there is a new filter available when you post your jobs to a job board from recruiting. Now you can actually choose whether or not to display required fields on a job board. So you can just tell the system, please only show me required fields, and then the process will be faster for you instead of going through all the fields that might be for a job board. And then we have 2 new job boards in the job board marketplace. Woohoo! So if you're in Austria and use Superhelden or jobs.tt, they are now available in the job board marketplace. And of course, remember, if you need a job board in recruiting, you can always raise a suggestion to SAP, and then eventually they will add it to the job board marketplace and everyone will be happy. Then we have our deep dive topic, and we will look into the new redesigned Candidate Workbench. So SuccessFactors is rolling out a new Candidate Workbench, and it's not available for you unless you have signed up for the early adoption program, but the tool will be generally available in second year of 2023. So the enhancements we have, there's new or more simplified search in the Candidate Workbench, meaning that it will be easier for your recruiters to scan through the candidate database on a job application or the application database. And it will also be easier for the recruiters to use the mass change features that recruiting has. So for example, if we have a number of applicants that we want to move to a specific status, we will now get the move applicant screen, where first of all, we will get a status message. Then we will get a drop down of the statuses available on the job requisition. Then we can add comments. And then we will get a status here, whether or not, or a list of candidates that are eligible to be moved, and a list of candidates that are not eligible to be moved. So a candidate could be not eligible to be moved if information in a required field was missing, for example. Then there are some enhancements to the redesigned applicant workbench. So now it will be possible to see the rating from screening questions if you're using those. You can see that in the workbench, and you can also see the requisition a candidate may be forwarded from. You might be thinking, yeah, we can see that today, but yeah, enhancements, they happen differently to new stuff. So we have some more enhancements here to the applicant workbench. So you'll see it'll be easier to see candidates submitted from agencies, so it'll be more clear for you if the candidate is from an agency. Then you can see the chosen name, which is the general display name for internal candidates, if they have a preferred name they would like to see throughout the organization and they don't want to use their legal name, you will see that in recruiting as well. And then you can see if a candidate has updated their application. So if you have multi-stage application enabled for recruiting, you'll be able to see if a candidate after the application has logged in and changed their city or postal code or whatever. Then they will also upgrade the search in uploaded resumes, meaning that you can now search for keywords in a resume in the new applicant workbench as well. And it will also be possible to do it on resumes that are uploaded by internal users. So if a hiring manager or recruiter has uploaded the resume because the candidate forgot it or didn't do it for some reason, then you can search in those as well. And then there is a visual indicator if a comment is required for selected status. And details about individual candidates is now available by clicking on the names. There's a better visual distinction that differentiate internal candidate, external candidates, and agency candidates. And then we can invite candidates as late-stage applicants only if they were forwarded. Late-stage applications are not available to candidates who have already applied. So as you see, some of the enhancements already exist in the current environment, but since they have redesigned the workbench, they are continuously updating the features of the new workbench. And when it comes to the workbench, it will not be a forced upgrade right away. It will basically happen as any other upgrade. So first of all, it will be available for you, so you can choose to use it. And then at some time, it's either pushed to you, and then it won't be supported anymore. So it's not like you have to use the new workbench right away in second half this year. Yeah, question. It will be available for all customers from second half of this year. Then to the roadmap, and I'm pretty sure that you will cheer and be super happy for the next slide, because from this, or from the next release, we will have MS Teams available in interview scheduling, meaning that you can create team meetings in interview scheduling and not only Outlook invitations. Yeah, Nils is happy. I'm glad about that, and Finn as well. I think all customers I've worked with since the pandemic has asked, can we do a Teams meeting? And I had to cross that dream every time. So I got tired of that. So I'm super happy about the Teams. Then we, at some point, will get assisted applicant screening. So enable intelligent insights to assist recruiters in processes of screening applicants through skill matching and related recommendations. So it will help recruiters to faster screen candidates, which will be very helpful when you have requisitions with a high volume of candidates. And then we reach the Q&A session. So I think that's basically for all three modules, if you have anything or if there's any questions online.
There's no questions online at the moment. So if there's anything in here, we still have 4 minutes. Integration, is it also coming at the end of this year, or is it later?
Yes, I believe it's second half. Teams. Microsoft Teams. Q4 23. Yeah, so the plan right now is that it will be available in the next release. Yeah, I believe all of them are next release actually. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'll read for you. That's cool. Q4, all of them is Q4, and of course you can always follow the roadmap following this link. So you can just remember this string of. Yeah, sure.
Is there something interesting about LinkedIn integration?
Something interesting. Not about LinkedIn for now. I think there will happen. Something will happen within the next couple of releases. I at least see a lot of activity in the community regarding LinkedIn, and a lot of activity in the influence portal.